The market closes near the lows on Friday. Will it be a long, hard winter for the bulls? This is Invest with Jacob.
Okay guys, so in last week's video we talked about the fact that we were looking for the market to move down toward that 4100 to 4096 area, and then we'd look for a bounce from the bulls, and that's pretty much what we saw. The market moved down to 4122 before giving a tiny bounce into the close. Now the question is, can the bulls bounce from here, or do we expect lower? I'll get into that in just one second, but first, if you're new here, welcome to the show guys. My name is Jacob Gabbard, and this is Invest with Jacob, where we use Elliott Wave Theory to break down the SP 500 and the NASDAQ. I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below so that you can get our daily S&P updates, our trade setups, and our buy alerts. All right, guys, we had a winning swing trade on Friday, a winning day trade, another awesome day in the room. Guys are killing it. You can see my man on the screen thanked Leonardo Fibonacci, which I love, and PT and myself, as we're having an awesome time in there. The group is amazing. If you're interested in joining, I have an awesome discount code for our Elliott Wave for Beginners course later in the video. But for now, let's jump into the chart and take a look. Okay guys, so here we are on the daily futures chart for the S&P 500. We're going to do a big picture view as I like to do on Mondays, help some of you guys out. So if you remember a little over a year ago, I believe it was last October 15th or 14th, right around there, I did a video. It's my main video on my YouTube page. So if you go to my YouTube page, just the main page, it's the very top video up there, and the thumbnail is Big Pick Update. And I talked about the fact that we should be bottoming here around 3,500, 3,450, and then pushing back over 4,300. That's exactly what we saw. And then after that, I said we should be topping in B and then coming down in C. And that is starting to play out. And this is one of the reasons Elliott Wave is so powerful. Now, let me talk about a couple caveats, because I know a few of you have probably been watching me for at least that long. So we did a couple of things that were tricky. One, the bulls pushed it way past 4,300 up into this 4,600 area, which was unexpected. The entire ride up, I did say until we break support, they can push higher, and they did. And then they gave us a three-wave move down here, and that typically is not what you're going to see to start a C wave down. So when we got the three-wave move down and bounced and broke the pivot, then it becomes somewhat of a bullish or corrective pullback, meaning that we should expect them to push back through the high. What they did is they played out a diagonal, which, as you know, if you've been watching this, I don't trust diagonals. So I did shift to a bullish view, and we had this move down nailed. I said this was likely an ABC down into this area. And then we got a strong move up that failed to break out, and then we got the fifth wave down. So that's kind of how diagonals work. They're very tricky. They're very hard to chart and understand fully that they're playing out until they're kind of there. And so we did shift our perspective to a little bit bullish in here throughout this area, because the market can be tricky at times. In this case, it was tricky. But overall, the big picture view from back in last October was bottoming, coming up to make a secondary or lower high, and then coming back down into this to break the October lows. Now, this is no slam dunk to the downside yet. We still need to see a couple of things. So the primary count, okay, is again that we have this diagonal playing out to the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4 with overlap, and then 5 down here into our target area. We may or may not have bottomed. We'll get into that when we drill down. And then a bounce up in wave 2. And this wave 2 should challenge at least this wave 4 high at 4420. But anything over 4,300 would be high enough. But given that we're coming off a diagonal, I would expect a pretty strong move up back towards this 4420 area, and then 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and then down from there. So we want to see a bounce. We want to see the wave 2 bounce, okay? And then we want to see the breakdown come after that to kind of give us a bigger confirmation on what we're looking at, because we are again dealing in a diagonal type structure, which does make things more difficult. Now, are there other options? Of course, if they continue directly through 4,000, directly down through the 4,000 level, then we could be in a wave 3 already. I don't think that's the case. It is not a path that I would put a lot of stock in until I see it actually happen, because this wave 1 here doesn't meet the criteria for a wave 1. This wave 2 comes up, and then 1 of 3 is way, way too deep. And then you got 2 of 3, and then you would say this is going to be 3 of 3 breaking down. I just don't see that as the case. But it would be something if we broke the 4,000 level that I would assume we are already in wave 3 of 3 to the downside and looking at a more direct move lower. But again, given a lot of factors, some of which I just named, I don't think that's the case. And then the bulls, of course, are not dead. No one in the stock market is ever dead. The market can do whatever it wants. Elliott Wave Theory just gives us a great advantage on how to understand who's in control of the market. Right now it is the bears. But what the bulls can be looking at is this wave up to be a fifth wave as a complete diagonal. So it would be an ending diagonal up to a new high. Not as high as I have it drawn. That was a little aggressive. But it would be an ending diagonal up where, remember, diagonals play out in three waves. So this would be A, B, C, which would make sense because this is a three-wave structure, which is why we struggled with any bull count off of the bottom. Then you have a wave 2 down. Then you have an A, B, C for 3. Then you'd have 4 back into wave 1 territory, which is what you would expect. And then you'd look for an A, B, C, and 5 to take out the previous highs from back in January of 22 or so, and make a nominal new high here. This is no longer valid. We can take this off. So we look for an ABC up. That would give us a slightly new high for a wave 5. And then we would look for this ABC to the downside to play out after that. So if this did play out, let's say we got this new high here, then we'd look for an A wave retrace back to the origination point, because this would be a giant ending diagonal. Then a B wave up, and then C down. And then we would, start that pattern all over again. So right now, bears are in control. Expectation would be for them to bounce here, and we'll get into that as we drill in wave 2, and then down in 3. The bulls, of course, do have some hope, as I just outlined. And if they break 4,000 directly, then we may already be in wave 3 of 3. Okay, so let's drill down to the 2-hour chart. Okay, so the typical ending points for an ending diagonal are the 1618 to 1764 area. We came down here in between those two zones, and we have bounced from there. Now, we don't have to be done to the downside just yet. We could see a bounce in a slightly bigger wave 4, and then down in 5 to complete this last move down, which would give us the overall finishing move down to the 4096 area and complete that kind of move there. But they are in the area where a bottom would be reasonable. If we are bottoming, we'd want to see a pretty aggressive move to the upside that takes out this 4285 area, which is this previous wave 4 high, 4290 area. Okay, it also is the 50% retrace, which is where you'd want to break through to kind of tell you that this wave down or this wave up is not going to be a wave 4. And so that's what we want to see, is something aggressive to the upside that breaks through first 4252 and then 4284, but really 4284 is the number, and then this high here at 4289 through that. And I would start to consider this to be the bottom of wave 1 of C, and us moving up in wave 2. If you see something that comes up and it's just kind of, bounces up a little bit and then kind of gives you this kind of number, okay, we might be building this wave 4 and then down, or we might be just kind of chopping before a direct move down, where you kind of come up just a little bit here for a little bounce and then, back down here to complete this target and then up. But overall, I wouldn't want to see a whole bunch of meandering down here. I'd want to see a pretty strong move from the bulls to kind of signal that the ending diagonal or the leading diagonal is over, and we're retracing it strongly as we should. So again, a strong move off of this low that follows through. We want to see it kind of get through 4252 and 4290 pretty quickly, within a couple days. And that's a pretty strong rally. It's going to be 140 points from here, so it's going to take a few days. It's not, even a strong rally should probably take at least 2 to 3 days. But we'd want to see it kind of get up through there without messing around too much, like an up day kind of deal, where they break through, and that would give us an indication that we're bottoming in that wave 1 of C, and potentially starting wave 2 higher. So that's kind of where we're at on the micro count. Is we're going to see what kind of bounce we get. Obviously, they've gapped up here on Sunday, and they're kind of moving sideways now. We'll see what we get in the regular trading hours, but a strong move up would signify that this was the bottom, and this red 5 can just move over to complete this, to complete wave 1 to the downside. We do still have the possibility of this being wave 4 in the bullish count if they can break some resistance levels to the upside. Over on the NASDAQ, and I've been saying this for a while, if you're a bull, the NASDAQ is your saving grace, or your hope that the bullish path can still play out. What I mean by that is, off of the high, the pivot for the NASDAQ was 14,128. They still haven't broken that pivot. They came down to it, and they've bounced off of it so far. So the bulls still have a straightforward play on the NASDAQ to get this wave 5 higher. up toward the 17,000 region. That doesn't mean that that's the primary count. Currently, given the ES's posture and what we've seen so far, I do believe that the bears are in control on the NASDAQ as well. But this is kind of one of those things where you look and you go, how could I have seen that ES was, careening to the downside, that they were going to go up? Well, the NASDAQ is how you could have seen it. They still haven't broke 14,128. And until they do, they have a pretty standard chance for a move up in an impulsive way. And that would open the door or green light for the bulls to get that ABC up for a nominal new high. Again, I don't think that's the primary path right now. And it's not the primary path, and I don't think that's a likely path, is what I should say. The primary path is to continue down in wave one. And on the NASDAQ, it's a little bit different because, again, it would be a diagonal based on the overall structure and how we've got it set. But the NASDAQ would be looking at 1, 2, and then A, B, C of 3. Then you look for wave 4 back into wave 1 territory. And then you look for 5 back down to complete 1. And that would take you down toward the 13,450 area, 13,300 area. Right at this support right here and this support over here. So this is a common ground for them to come down into based on the confluence of where the diagonal would target and where support is on the chart. This 13,350 area is where we'd really look for support on the NASDAQ if they're going to continue to the downside. Now, as they're coming down here, they can, as we'll see, bounce pretty decently, which would coincide with the ES bounce. We'll have to take a look at that in just a minute when we drill in, but this bounce on ES that we're expecting would not deter them from this overall path that we're looking at here. From there, we would be looking at a bounce in 2, back up toward the 15,250 area, and then 3, 4, and 5 to the downside. So same type of look on NASDAQ where the downside is the overall primary path. They have taken out enough key levels and set up themselves enough, especially on the ES, to set this path up as long as they can get a wave 2 that holds resistance and then come back down and break whatever low they made for wave 1. That is an extremely strong indication that we're on our way down in this bigger move that would take us down on the NASDAQ into the 10,000 or below 10,000 area. The 9,700 area would be the overall target right now. So that is the overall look on the NASDAQ. Again, they do not have to have a diagonal to the upside. They are still holding the pivot. So if we see 5 waves on the NASDAQ from here to the upside, that would be a canary in the coal mine, as they say, for a potential bullish move on ES as well. So we got to keep an eye on the NASDAQ, make sure it breaks the levels it's supposed to break and holds the levels it's supposed to hold. But the bearish path is the path of note, or the primary path right now. Let's drill into the 2-hour chart on the NASDAQ. Okay, so the 2-hour chart on the NASDAQ, you can see, would support a wave 4 bounce back up toward the 14,600 area, about 250 points directly higher here on the NASDAQ before we see another turn down. And in that case, we'd be looking for an ABC structure up from here. So we'd be looking for A, B, C, and then down in 5 toward that 13,850 area. Then another fairly significant rally back toward the 14,900 area, and then down in 5 to that 1618, 1764 zone that I talked about on ES as a ending diagonal path. And that would be the 13,292, 13,505 area as a landing spot for wave 1 of C to the downside. Then you look for a nice rally in 2 and then down from there. So NASDAQ's a little different than ES in a couple ways. Number one, it still has its bullish potential to the upside available if it wants to take it. It would have to pretty much go from here to keep it from being a diagonal, but they do have the potential to try to run this up and give us a 5-wave move up that would signify that we could still move higher on the NASDAQ. But again, the bearish path is the path that's prominent right now and the leading path and the primary path overall. So for the bulls, they need to break back over 14,600 and then this 14,745 level. That would be a strong move for the bulls. But ultimately back over this level here at 15,467 would be a very strong indication that the bulls are trying to take back control on the NASDAQ. Guys, if you love the information I put out in these videos and you want real-time market updates from me, you need to check out investwithjacob.com. There's a link down in the description. Go ahead and click that link. It'll take you right over to the website. Once you're there, check out our membership plans area. We have 2 incredible monthly plans, and they both come with a 7-day free trial because I want you to get in there, become part of this really awesome, fun trading community that we have, and make sure you love it before you ever spend a penny. You can cancel at any time. We also have our Elliott Wave for Beginners online course. And I told you in the intro that I had an awesome coupon code for you. This is your last chance. This expires October 31st. It's on Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays. And the coupon code for $30 off is the word spooky. Okay, so you type in the word spooky, you get $30 off. You get the Elliott Wave for Beginners course, which is an incredible course for $37. Guys, let me show you how to do that real quick so you don't have any problems. When you get to the entry page here, it'll say right here at the top, price $67. You scroll down, and right here above the payment area, it'll say have a coupon. You click on that, it opens a box, and you type in the word spooky. Once you do that and hit enter, make sure you hit enter, you'll see a little bar come up. You scroll to the top, and it will say price $37 with coupon code spooky. So make sure you type that in. One last thing. When you are going to put in your payment information, hit the sign up button, and on the next page is where you put in your credit card details or the PayPal details, whatever you decide to pay with. So click whichever one you want to use, hit sign up, and that's where you put in your details. Guys, this course is helping real traders make real money and understand the market in a way that finally makes sense. When you see these news cycles and the good news makes the market go down and bad news makes the market go up, it's confusing, it's frustrating, and it might even make you say, this market is rigged. It's not rigged if you understand the key levels and what we're looking for overall, and that's what Elliott Wave gives you, is that advantage. It's 25 videos where I go over 3 different areas. First is the introduction, where we just go over, your expectations, your mindset, the KISS method, and why this works. Then we go over your chart setup and tools to make sure you have every tool you need along with Elliott Wave Theory to confirm what you're seeing and make sure you're using it in the best possible way. And then finally, the Elliott Wave for Beginners area, I go through every single wave, how it works, what its confirmations are, where it fails, why it fails, what happens when it fails. I go through the theory of alternation, the corrective zigzag. I go through the pivot, anything you want to know to finally understand the market in a way that makes sense so that you can start making money trading instead of feeling frustrated with the news cycles. The really cool thing is, if you don't want to buy the course outright, it is included in both monthly plans. So if you sign up for either monthly room, you get the course for free. In my first room, the Invest with Jacob room, you get all of my real-time market updates, all of my buy and sell alerts, all of your Elliott Wave questions answered, a midday video where I go over exactly where we are in the counts and what to expect, as well as the training material you just saw. We trade the SPY and the QQQ, and we swing and day trade, which means we have trades every day and sometimes trades that last a few days to a few months. If you're looking for individual stocks as well as futures and different things like that, you need to check out PT's Throne Room. In there, you get everything you get in the Invest with Jacob room, as well as individual stocks, futures trading, and PT's reduced risk binary method that absolutely crushes the market. He gets you in at a cheap price and gets you huge multiples on your money, and it's how he structures his trades that's so unique. Something you kind of have to see to understand, and that's another reason we give you that 7-day free trial. He also started a challenge account where he put $4,000 into an account, trading mini ES futures, averaging 3 to 4% gains per week, showing you how to build a small account into a large retirement or savings account. Guys, we would love to have you in these rooms so we can all make money together. All right, the key takeaways for today. We are looking for a potential bounce here. The question is, what kind of bounce? If they give us kind of that meandering, easy, soft bounce, then we'd be looking for another low down towards 40.96. If they start ripping it and can take out some levels like 42.50 and 42.89, then we'd be looking for a bigger bounce in wave 2. Over on the NASDAQ, same kind of setup. We're looking for a smaller bounce potentially toward the 14,600 area, and then down in 5 toward the 13,850 area. If they do start ripping it to the upside, we'll have to see what they break through, but breaking through the 14,745 area would be strong for the bulls on the NASDAQ. Guys, that is your market update for today. I will talk to you tomorrow.